Howdy, welcome to today's session about the master's degree admissions processes here at the Bush School at Texas A&M University, specifically in College Station, Texas. This will last about an hour, and I will be recording the session and sending it out to everyone after the recording is transcribed. But first, to give you an idea of who I am Ashley Treadway, the Assistant Director of Graduate Admissions here for our graduate degree programs in College Station. And today, our agenda is to talk about several different degree programs and their admissions processes. Specifically, we'll be talking about the Master of Public Service and Administration, the Master of International Affairs, and the Master of International Policy, as well as the Master of International Affairs combined degree programs and the differences in the application processes for those. Our topics that we'll cover today are preparing for the application process, what the requirements are for each program, and I'll share some advice and tips for things that I have seen over the years processing applications, the admission steps and timelines for each program, what you do after you're admitted or offered admission, and our average class and admission statistics for each of our programs as well. So first, when you're preparing for the application process, you're probably wanting to know what would make you a competitive applicant. How can you be competitive? What are we looking for? And so specifically here at the Bush School and for our graduate degree programs, we're looking for students that have, a successful academic record or have shown progress in improving as their academic program as they go through the academic program that they're in. We're looking for students that show an ability to work with others. Teamwork is huge for us because most of our classes are discussion-based and have a lot of teamwork with your cohort. We're looking for those that have maturity and initiative, a drive, as well as their leadership or involvement in your undergrad or even after. If you're in a career right now, what kind of leadership involvement have you had in some aspect? We're looking for those that have an aptitude for the field, a clear sense of direction or idea of what they want to do after the degree. What are your goals? And then, of course, what do your recommenders say about you? And what is their feedback and support for you pursuing a graduate degree program? So first, we need to make sure that you build your foundation to prepare for the application process. For our degrees here in College Station, we do not require any prerequisites at all. And instead, we do suggest a couple of different topics that you familiarize yourself with or have some understanding in before you enroll in the program. Specifically, those topics can be anything from economics, American government, statistics, research methods, calculus. Some of our courses do have some quantitative methods or quantitative skills that are required. And then for the Master of International Affairs and Master of International Policy, specifically the National Security and Diplomacy track, were some background or some knowledge in international relations, world politics, American history, diplomacy, 20th century history. And then for our International Development and Economic Policy track, we're looking for some students that are hoping to enroll in that track. If you have some background in economics, microeconomics, macroeconomics, or statistics will help you in the degree. There are some free online resources that you can use to prepare or review, brush up on your skills before you enter the program. And those programs are listed here. One is the Khan Academy, and specifically look at things like algebra, statistics, and economics. They have some tutorial videos that you can watch. And then for spreadsheets, since you'll be doing a lot of data in some of your quant classes, looking just on the Microsoft Excel support website, they have little tutorials and video walkthroughs that they show you how to create a worksheet or a workbook, things of that nature. Next, we'll dive into the application requirements for our graduate degrees. Just keep in mind that each degree is looking for a little bit different type of applicant. So they may have a little bit different requirement than some of our other graduate degrees. But in general, all of our graduate programs require an applicant to submit an application. That's obvious. Most applicants, if you're not a current graduate student here at Texas A&M, and if you're not applying to one of our 3+2 or 5-year degree programs, you will submit an application in an online program called GradCast. It is an online tool that you use to go in, upload all of your materials, enter all of your information, your background information. You collect your recommendations all through this application. If you're a 3+2 student or a current graduate student here at A&M looking to continue into another graduate degree here at the Bush School, then just discuss with me separately about an internal application process. It's a little bit different. The requirements are the exact same. It's just a different way to collect your material. So just chat with me afterwards. The application fee in GradCast is $89 for domestic students and $114 for international applicants. That application fee is required to submit the application, and we do offer to pay the application fee for those that are members of specific service organizations. We'll get to that here in just a second on the next slide, so hold that thought for just a second and we'll get there shortly. All applicants are required to upload a copy of their transcripts from every 4-year college that they've attended. Official transcripts are not needed at the time you apply. They're only needed if you're admitted and you accept your offer of admission. And then we do require 2 recommendations. Again, you will enter the name and email address of 2 recommenders in your application. The system automatically notifies your recommenders that you've requested a recommendation, at which point they will upload and complete their recommendation in the system. I do recommend you talk to your recommenders before you add their contact information, just to give them a heads up that they'll receive an email and to make sure that they're okay with submitting a recommendation for you. All applicants are asked to upload a resume as well as a personal statement. And then, of course, for international students that are not citizens of an English-speaking country, you are required to submit proof of English proficiency in some way. We do have a list of ways that you can demonstrate English proficiency on our website. Just to kind of briefly go over it, it does require a TOEFL score of at least a 90 or above. I'm sorry, an 80 or above. The Bush School prefers 100 or above. An IELTS score of 6.0 overall or higher, a GRE verbal score of at least a 146, or if you've obtained a degree of all years here at an accredited institution in the United States, that also qualifies as your English proficiency. GRE scores are completely optional for all of our programs. For the Master of International Affairs or the Master of Public Service and Administration, we do recommend applicants that have below a 3.2 GPA submit GRE or GMAT scores. If they're a great test taker and they think that a strong GRE score would help offset some concerns, such as a lack of professional experience or a lower GPA. For the Master of International Policy program, applicants with a GPA below 3.0, we do recommend GRE scores for. But of course, we accept your GRE scores for anyone who thinks that their scores can help improve or strengthen their application or offset any concern that they may see in their application. For the Master of International Policy, we do require applicants have at least 4 years of full-time professional work experience in international affairs to apply. That is a hard requirement, so all applicants must have this experience in order to even be considered for admission. Application fee waivers. So as I mentioned before, there are some opportunities for those that are members or volunteers of several different service organizations. The service organizations that we have contracts with where we'll pay the application fee for volunteers of these organizations are AmeriCorps, Teach for America, City Year, or Peace Corps. If you're a Pickering, Wrangell, or Payne Fellowship finalist or recipient, we'll pay the application fee for you. Or if you participated or completed the Public Policy Institute program, it's called a JSI or a Junior Summer Institute. we'll also pay the application fee for you. If you're not a member of one of those organizations or a volunteer of one of those organizations, then look at some of the ways Texas A&M will pay an application fee, and that's for veterans or active duty U.S. military members, McNair scholars, or Pell Grant recipients or low-income applicants. We have instructions on requesting those application fees be paid for these types of applicants on our website, but I just want to reiterate, do not submit your application if you do meet one of these without first talking to us. Once you submit an application and pay your application fee, we cannot make any or issue any refunds. So make sure you reach out before submitting your application. We'll provide you with instructions. Admissions advice. So this is where we get into the fun stuff. I always recommend you highlight your strengths in your application material, specifically your personal statement and your resume. That's where we're going to get to know you. It's the only way we get to know you on paper. So tell us your interest in the program. What are you planning to do with this degree? Are you wanting a career in a specific area, or are you trying to pursue a PhD later? Look up professors and their research, their experience. Is this program a fit for what you're wanting to do? What are their connections? What is their network? What is your purpose and what is your passion? Your experiences. So that could be work experience, but it could also be volunteerism, leadership, studying abroad, in organizations that you're involved in, community involvement as well. Your abilities and skills, and that includes not only your GPA, your academic performance and research, it also includes your communication skills, your project management, time management, critical thinking, adaptability, foreign language ability if you're applying to the Master of International Affairs, accountability, time management, those type things. So you really want to highlight your strengths and bring those to the forefront of your application. Next piece of advice that I can give you is focus on your personal statement. Write a strong personal statement. Applicants have a tendency to, from what I have seen, underestimate the power of their personal statement. This is the only way we get to know who you are on paper. So tell us, this is the one place where you can describe your background and express your fit for the program in your words. Break the prompt into sections, answer each question. Our prompts are different for each program, so go on our website, look at the prompt, and make sure you answer those questions. Take your time, make it a statement piece, outline your qualifications, convey your passion, articulate your goals, specifically why here, why this program, what can we do for you? And then always proofread your personal statement. So go back, spell check, make sure that it is, again, a strong personal statement before uploading. Request your recommendations earlier. I cannot stress this enough. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait until after you've filled out your application and then you get to the recommendations part and you're like, oh, the deadline's in 2 days and I have to get recommendations in. So all of our programs require 2 recommendations. What I suggest for you, pick your recommenders early. Start talking to them now. If you're applying for next fall, start talking to them, asking them if they would mind submitting a recommendation for you. If you're a recent college graduate, we do recommend you submit 2 recommendations from professors or lecturers in your classes who can speak to your academic ability and performance. For those that have been out of college for a little bit, so like 3 years or more, if you've been out of college, we understand you don't have the same connections that you used to have in your college career. So we do ask, you can submit those that can speak to your leadership, your character, any type of experience or aptitude for grad school that they can speak to will help. So this could be your employer, supervisor, a leader in an organization that you're a part of, those types of things. When you do talk to your recommenders and they agree, yeah, I'll submit a recommendation for you, make sure you send them in writing so that way they have it and can reference it as they're writing your letter for you. A resume highlights that they can talk about in their recommendation, such as your graduate and professional goals. They're probably writing recommendations for multiple people, so just providing them with some top things to hit in their recommendation can help them. A list of programs that you're applying to and the deadline that they need to submit their recommendation by for each program that you're applying to. I recommend you give them at least 2 weeks prior to the application deadline. That way, if there's something comes up, you have time to pivot and get another recommender, if not more. You could give them even 4 weeks out from the application deadline, but give them that deadline and then give them the instructions that they will use to submit their recommendation. If you're applying in GradCast, so to any of our graduate programs, you're likely going to be applying in GradCast. I recommend you start your application. Don't focus on filling out your application right now. Instead, jump to the recommendation section, add your 2 recommenders, and it will initiate an email and send an email to your recommenders with instructions to submit their recommendation. Then go back and finish filling out and making sure you're uploading all of the rest of the materials for your application and then submit. So it allows your recommenders to work on their recommendations while you're working on your application. Next piece of advice, I always receive this question is, you don't require GRE scores and they're not required, but should I still submit GRE scores? When should I submit them? So I can tell you, a strong GRE score of approximately a 305 total, that's your total score combined between your quantitative and verbal section. A strong score, 305 or above, can help you. It can offset concerns that faculty or the admissions committee may have if you have a lower GPA, again, below a 3.2 for the international affairs or public service and administration degrees, or 3.0 for the international policy. So if you can offset that lower GPA with a strong GRE, it can definitely help you and eliminate those concerns. But it's not the only thing. It can also strengthen an application for anyone. So if you are a great test taker and you can score above that, it can only strengthen your application. I can tell you most students do not submit GRE scores. So it is completely up to you. If you're a strong test taker, you have the time and resources to study for the test and actually prepare for it, think you can do well, take it. If you score a 305 or above, then submit your GRE scores with your application. Otherwise, don't. But just know that the test is expensive. It's $220 right now for the at-home or at a testing center test. The duration is about 2 hours. There's sample questions and exams on the ets.org website, so you can always check those out. And then, of course, there's books, software classes that you can sign up for as well. If you take that test and your score is below a 305, then don't submit your GRE scores. But if it is above, go ahead and upload it to your application. But like I said, it is completely up to you. So we're going to jump into the public service and administration application deadlines and timelines. We're doing rounds of admissions for this degree. We admit once per year for fall entry only into this specific degree. So our first round admissions decisions is our early decision or prior funding. That's December 5th of 2025. So this December, you have to submit your application and all of the materials to be complete by December 15th to be considered for an admissions decision in January. Your funding will come later in mid-March once you complete 2 interviews. Interviews are required for everyone that's invited to interview or is offered early admission for this degree. Our second round of admissions decisions, the application deadline to be considered for that is January 15th, 2026. They're all your materials and your application, everything is due on that date. If you submit by that date, then you will receive an admissions and a funding decision in mid-March. Note, if you're an international applicant or a 3+2 applicant, this is the date, the last chance that you have to apply for fall 2026 admission. If you miss this date, you have to wait until the next fall. And that is simply because of for 3+2 applicants, we're working with your advisors. Once you get into the semester, the advisors become busy. We don't have time to bother them with reviewing your degree plan. If you're an international student, the visa process is long and extensive. We can't go past this date. Otherwise, your chances of getting here in time for the fall start dropping dramatically. And then our final application deadline is for domestic students only, and it's considered a late application deadline. So you're applying at the last minute. If we have space, if we have funding still available, we'll consider your application. We'll update our website as that goes. Is March 15th, but focus on getting your application in by December 15th. Interviews are required, like I said, for everyone invited to interview or offered early admission, and they can interview via Zoom or in person. We'll help pay and reimburse you for a portion of your travel expenses. But the interview conference weekend for this particular degree is going to be February 20th and the 21st of 2026. The offer response deadline is not until April 15th. So we're hoping that if you are offered early admission, you can come to interview conference weekend, see if the school's the right place for you, and then tell us if you accept or decline. Otherwise, for everyone else who applied, the interview will help us determine if we would like to offer you admission. Go to our website. There's specific outlines and timelines on our website. I've put that website at the very bottom, but please go to that website. There's a checklist, all of that stuff to help you. The next program that we admit for is the Master of International Affairs. Very similar to the Master of Public Service Administration as far as requirements go. But we have also offered 3 rounds of admissions decisions for this program. It's just a little bit different on the admissions decisions. There are no interviews required for the International Affairs degree. So if you apply by December 15th, you will receive an early admissions decision and your funding at that time. It'll be released in early February. Our next application deadline is January 15th of 2026. Again, this is the final cutoff deadline for international applicants or 3+2 applicants. You'll receive your admissions and funding decision in mid-February. And then our final round is only for domestic apps if we have space and funding still available. This is our late application deadline, is February 15th for admission and funding decisions to be released in mid-March. We don't have interviews required for this degree, but instead we have an admitted student day. So you'll know if you're admitted, and then we invite you to our admitted student day where you can attend, come to campus, interact with faculty members, current students, former students, in order to figure out, yes, I want to accept or I want to decline my offer, my admissions offer, but that visit is intended to help you make that decision. And then you respond to us, letting us know if you accept or decline by April 15th. Our next program is our Master of International Policy. As I said before, this is an executive level program. So for those that have 4 years of full-time professional experience in international affairs and you're interested in international policy, this is the degree for you. We offer admission for this program year-round, for spring, summer, and fall entry. And our application deadlines fall on these dates every year. So for spring admission, the application deadline will be October 15th of the previous year. Summer entry, March 15th, prior to that summer. And then fall, April 15th for admission, and the April 15th prior to that fall entry. Once we receive a completed application, and I repeat, a completed application is your application and all required materials. If anything is missing, it's considered incomplete. But your decision, your admissions decision, will be made and emailed to you within 7 to 10 business days of a completed application. And just remember, there is no funding available for this particular program, so you will just receive your admissions decision. So how do I apply? So I talked about how most applicants are going to be submitting a GradCast application. I've listed here in italicized underneath each one the application that you'll specifically be submitting. But the first step in applying for any one of our programs is start working on your application as early as possible. Our applications for fall 2026 entry or even summer 2026 entry are currently open. So start working on that application. Again, get your recommenders in there or added to your application and start filling out everything else, preparing your personal statement, your resume. You really need to start on that right now. The applications that you'll be submitting, like I said, are GradCast, but if you're applying to one of our combined degree programs with the International Affairs, you're going to be submitting an internal application to me. You'll be submitting a full application to the main program, either economics or public health, but an internal application for the Master of International Affairs. Same requirements, just different application. Next step in applying is selecting your program in GradCast. So this is the second step. You've created your account, started your application, go to add program, and you're going to be looking for the program that you're applying for the term that you're applying for. So for the degrees that we're talking about today, the public service and administration, international affairs, or international policy, you're going to be looking for fall 2026 or summer 2026 Master of. That is the program. You'll click the plus sign next to the program, and that now, quote, adds it to your cart. Then you can go in and add your recommenders. Now that you've selected the program, the system now knows, okay, there's 2 recommendations required for this particular program. I'm going to allow you to enter those recommenders. You'll simply click on the recommendations tab, add the letter of recommendation request with your recommender's name and email. Once you hit send a recommendation request, the system automatically emails them, and your recommender will receive a link where they can click, create an account, and accept or decline your request for a recommendation. They'll upload their letter of recommendation through the system. If you're applying to Master of International Affairs, it will ask your recommender to answer 8 questions about you, just rating your different skills and abilities, and they'll submit. You can always monitor the status of your recommendations. You can see recommendation sent, recommendation received, recommendation accepted, or recommendation declined or submitted. So you can always check the status of your recommendations and send reminder emails periodically. But now that you've added them in, now you can go back and fill out the rest of your application. I do want to point out that recommendations do not have to be submitted or received by me before you can submit your application. Your recommendations just have to be submitted by the application deadline. So if you finish the rest of your application, you can go ahead and submit, and we'll wait for your recommendations to come in. The 4th step is filling out the rest of your application. So like I said, you got your recommenders working on their recommendations. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to start filling in all my information. There's 4 quadrants total in GradCast. Of course, we're going to be asking for your personal information, your biographical information, such as, your birth date, residency status, contact info. The next quadrant is our academic history quadrant. It's going to ask you to enter the names of every college that you've attended. However, you'll only need to upload a copy of your transcript from the 4-year colleges or universities you attended. In other words, we don't need your community college transcripts, junior college transcripts, or high school dual credit. Once you add the colleges in, there's an upload transcript button. You'll upload your transcript. If you're an international applicant and your transcript is not in English, we're going to ask you to include a copy of the English translation, as well as your degree certificate showing your degree awarded if it's already been awarded. Master of International Affairs and public health applicants, they require official transcripts, meaning the School of Public Health requires you to submit your officials. For everyone else, don't submit your officials until you know whether you're admitted and you're accepting your offer. The 3rd quadrant is supporting information. So I receive this question a lot. This is where you're going to be uploading your resume, but then it asks you, what are your experiences, your professional experience, your volunteer? I just uploaded my resume. Do I really have to enter all this information again? No. Highlight, only enter the items on your resume or that you want to highlight, bring attention to. But we're going to be using your resume when we review your application, so please don't worry about that. And then the last quadrant where you added your recommenders is the program materials section. So this quadrant is specific to the program that you've added to your application. So this is where you will answer specific questions about the master's program that you're applying to, such as your desired track, your desired concentration, and then the required materials that we require for you to apply. So your personal statement, your GRE or GMAT test scores, if you want to submit those, your proof of English proficiency, as well as your grading or GPA scale. So if you're an international, if you graduated from an international university or attended just for a little bit, and their GPA calculations are not on a 4.0 scale, oftentimes on the back of your transcript, it'll list what the grading scale that was used at your university is. Scan that and include that as well. So now you filled out all of your application, you're ready to submit. Even if your recommendations haven't come in quite yet, you can still submit your application. So you'll pay the application fee, or if you meet one of those qualifications for us to pay the application fee for you, you'll follow those instructions. But please note, do not submit your application if you qualify for us to pay the application fee for you, because we cannot reimburse you. So before you submit, you must contact us. We'll give you a code to bypass the application fee to submit your application. But if you submit it without contacting us, then we cannot reimburse you. You submit your application, and that comes over to me. I am going to be checking to make sure that we've received all of your materials. You didn't miss anything. Checking that the uploaded materials are complete. So sometimes it'll cut off a page, or your resume was uploaded and it jumbled the wording, the format of it. I will take a look at it because I want you to put your best foot forward for the admissions committee. So I'll take a look at it, make sure it's complete. If I see any issues, I'll reach out to you. Otherwise, I will email you to say your application was received, processed, and it's complete. We have everything we need, and I have moved your application forward to review. And then your application is, of course, reviewed by our admissions committee with the timelines that we went over previously, but also on our website. And for the MPSA only program, that's the Public Service and Administration, that's when, if you're offered early admission, you must complete 2 interviews to receive a funding decision. If you're invited to interview, so you applied after December 15th, but prior to the final deadline, you'll receive your admissions and funding decision at the same time in mid-March, but 2 interviews must be completed for this program. You can complete those via Zoom, which will work with you on scheduling beginning in February all the way through April. We'll work on completing those interviews. Otherwise, we encourage you to join us at Interview Conference Weekend. Interview Conference Weekend, like I said earlier, is a very comprehensive review of what the Bush School can offer you, what the environment is like, who the faculty are, the differences in the tracks and the concentrations, and we'll reimburse you up to a certain percentage. So be sure to check out Interview Conference Weekend on our website. We have more information. This is a picture that was at one of them. And then the next, so you've been admitted or you've been offered admission. Now what? So by mid-March, you should know if you're admitted or not. Now you have to decide if you want to accept or decline the offer. No matter what, for any college that you're applying to and that you submitted an application for, pay close attention to the response deadline. If you don't respond by that deadline, then any funding that was awarded to you will be forfeited and awarded to the next applicant in line. So make sure you meet those deadlines, make sure you are able to communicate with everyone involved if you do have questions. If you accept, that's when you submit your official transcripts from all 4-year colleges you attended. You can't register or enroll in classes until your officials are submitted at that point. Since we send out most of our decisions by mid-March, that means enrollment for courses starts in April. You need to submit those official transcripts immediately. If you're from an international college, you're trying to submit a transcript, it often takes much longer. So it's important you get that request in so that way you can register earlier. Submit official proof of English proficiency test scores. So if you are an international applicant and from a non-English speaking country that wasn't exempt, you will need to submit your official TOEFL, IELTS, GRE, GMAT score, those type things. And then you register for classes. So now you will be working directly with your department on getting into the right classes for fall or spring, summer if you're applying international policy. So statistics, I want to go over these and just kind of show you kind of what we're looking at. And I've included the 3 programs that we've primarily talked about today. So you'll see the International Affairs and the Public Service and Administration Master's programs are very similar. We have about 83 to 87 students enrolled this year, and there's a first-year class and a second-year class. Our International Policy Master's degree that's here in College Station, we only have about 10 students enrolled in that. Remember, that's the one that requires that 4 years of professional experience, hence why it's a lower enrollment. Our average GPA, 3.48 for the Public Service and Administration, 3.62 for the International Affairs. That's why we recommend if you have below a 3.2 in either of those programs, a strong GRE score can offset those concerns because we do have a higher GPA average. The average age is 24, 23 in the International Affairs of Public Service and Administration degrees. For that executive program, the international policy, it's about 32 because they've already been in the workforce and now they're coming to get a degree. Experience, since most of our students are applying straight out of undergrad or soon after undergrad, maybe they took a gap year, 70%-ish have 0 to 2 years of experience, whereas everyone else has between that 2 to 5 years or even more experience. And then we've put our averages for the past 3 years in each of these programs, just so you have a wider snapshot. So how many do we admit per year? Remember, admitted does not mean enrolled. We have a lot of international students like this past year that we admitted, but we couldn't get them enrolled because of visa requirements. And so we admitted 130 on average the past 3 years in the public service and administration. And we admitted 157 for the international affairs. And of course, the international policy smaller number is 10. But out of the 130 that we offered admission to in the public service and administration, only 80 enrolled. 157 were admitted in the international affairs, 90 enrolled. We also have the average scholarship that we award students in each of these two programs, and it's about $5,000, $5,100 in the international affairs per year, $5,700 per year for the public service and administration. And as a reminder, the cost for either of those programs, if you're an in-state or non-resident, is about $13,500 right now with current fees. International students, you're looking at about $17,000 per year before this scholarship kicks in. With that being said, that wraps up everything that I was going to talk about with you today. So it leaves some time for us to answer your questions. So I am going to stop the recording here in just a second. But before I do that, I wanted to remind you that our website here is just the bush.tmu.edu. You can find everything you need to know about the admissions process on our website. I have detailed everything out for you. I have a checklist, I have instructions. But of course, if you run into any questions, feel free to reach out to us. It's going to be me or Catherine that answers your questions. And I can be reached at that Bush School applications at tamu.edu. If you submit an application, this is the email address that I'll be emailing you from with status updates to know whether your application is complete or incomplete, admitted, denied. Everything will be coming from this email address. And of course, my phone number is 979-862-3476. So with that, I do appreciate everyone joining me today. I loved presenting to you. And so now I'll stop the recording so that way we can dive into some of your questions. I see a few here.